Hi everybody, this is Andrew Dennis from Adventure Club Games, and we're going to go around the room and talk about what we learned today. So, first, we have Mike Rossi at Mike Likes Games. Mike, what did you learn today?
So my major takeaway was, what was the name of it? It was called Controls You Can Feel, Putting Tactility Back into Touch Controls. It was hosted by the guy who created Spell Tower for iOS. It was really good. Basically, his thought process was, how do you, controllers are really easy to develop for, think of designs for, because you know what buttons you're using. You just need to figure out what buttons do what. Whereas touch controls, you don't have that luxury. You got to figure out what buttons you can use, whether or not they feel good, and all that kind of stuff. And it really kind of got my spark going, wanting to do some prototypes for touch based gestures and things like that. And it was just really interesting. The other thing too is he brought up a lot of, he brought up the fact that don't take Apple's stuff for granted. Apple's like recommended settings. For instance, he frequently brought up their recommended button size. And he was explaining this all backed up by research that Apple has done and by user testing. And he brought up a couple of examples of games that have that they've updated and redone based on this user testing and how much substantially better they are. So I thought it was a really interesting talk, and I'm definitely excited for it to go back up on the vault so I can watch it again.
Nice work, Mike. Good.
Yeah.
And just that spark, that's the glint in his eyes you see. That's what we're talking
That's
about.
not the flash from
That's
my
not
camera.
that's not the flash from the camera. That is literally the spark of game development coming out of his soul. Oh, Jordan's got it too. So here's Jordan at Jordan Angeloni on Twitter. And Jordan, where'd you go today?
It's a good question, Andrew. What I learned today is being in indie development or in any game development, but most particularly indie development, you need to really add a personal element into your games. You need a piece of you into whatever game you're making or whatever piece of game is your responsibility, because that's really what going to let it stand out and let it stand on its own, is that there's something more human and emotional underneath what your game is, and that's the driving force. And you can't really, through pure game design logic, like add that to a product. It just has to be there. And so you have to do some introspection to find out what you're doing with your game and what direction it's going to take.
Okay, next we have Sean Henry Adams, Cutie Bomb, at Twitter. We're going to get a nice bedroom angle on him here.
Oh, hello everyone.
Conversations with Sean Henry Adams.
Good evening. Well, so I spent the day today at the first day of the AI Summit, which is a really great time, and it's all about AI devs, talking about things they've done this year and sharing their experiences so that others can take things away from it and learn from everyone else's hard work. And I think the biggest takeaway for me today was there was a math talk, and a lot of it was about utility-based programming and how you can find patterns in these utilities that can be reused, almost like design patterns in computer science, but these kind of utility patterns. And it's all this very simple math stuff and how you can implement simple artificial intelligence behaviors in these maths, and it always gets me excited about tackling problems. That's why I got into computer science, was for a love of logic and problem solving, and just taking these big problems and ideas and breaking them into very small atomic pieces. It's just a very exciting day for me, and just to be surrounded by all these ridiculously smart people and to learn from them. So.
You may notice that Sean's eyes are not glowing. This doesn't mean he is not exuding pure game design as the other twos are. He's just glowing in a different spot because he's a programmer. Should I do the separate video for the
movie?
All right, we're gonna have to figure this out because I have
Give
to
it to Sean.
give it to Sean here.
Can't see because I got all these
All right,
spots in
so we're
my
flipping
eyes.
around, and I didn't go to the summits and tutorials this year, so But what I did get to go see was Indie Game the Movie, which has been making the rounds at Sundance and all the festivals, and they had a special showing here at GDC for it. One with these guys here. And the main takeaway from it, it was hugely inspirational / soul crushing. And it was like this great combination of watching some people put their hearts and souls into something, and there's this real child metaphor to it. They talked a lot about trying to convey this idea of when you're releasing the game, it's not just the fear that the game does poorly or anything like that. It's like sending your kid off to the first day of school, and now he's out in the world, and you've put all this time and effort into him. But if everything goes wrong, you can't start over. You can't pull the kid out of school and say, we're going to put him in school next year, and we'll fix out all the bugs and the problems. It was a cool look at Super Meat Boy, sort of as it was being released, Fez as they were producing it, and Braid as sort of a post. What is it like to have indie game success, and what are the ups and downs of that? Overall, for us being indie developers, it was hugely inspirational to see that they're going through the same kind of pain and struggle that we're experiencing, and also a bit daunting to know that we haven't even felt some of the same crushing blows that they have, and perhaps that's in our future.
Well, I think another really awesome takeaway because the other nice thing about this screening of the Indie Game the Movie is that they had the entire cast and crew do a panel talk afterwards. And one of the questions that was asked during that was, what was the main takeaway that they've heard from people that aren't in the industry, specifically from Sundance? And they said that while they were at Sundance, which they were a Sundance selective film, so really big deal, that they made mention of one mother that was during the Sundance thing that raised their hand and said, I didn't realize game developers were people too. And basically, it's finally shining. This movie is finally shining light on the fact that, like artists, like musicians, like people that really put their soul into their work, that game development is on that level, and that's really great that something like this is finally exposing the non-industry person to that stuff. So,
Jordan, you like it?
I liked it. I really liked that it focused more on the emotional state of the developers than like the development process itself, because it would have been really easy to make the movie like, hey developers, nudge nudge, this is what they're doing, this is what it's like. It's like, no, this is the emotional strain that these people go through and how much they wreck themselves to do something they love. And that's something people can, like Mike was saying, that's what people can relate to. So it reaches beyond the gaming sphere and out into anyone creative can understand that concept.
Overall, a thumbs up from all of us.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
We highly recommend that once it does come out on DVD, or if there's a screening in a town near you, go to it. It's completely worth it. Check it out. Check out indiegamethemovie.com. Highly recommended.
So that's day one, GDC 2012.
Woo.
Signing
We'll
out for now.
Check back with you guys tomorrow. Give you an update on what's going on, and it'll be
We'll
great.
see you when the sun comes up.